The first card you have your past is the Hanged Man. Yeah, I'm seeing a few mixed things in this, actually. I'm seeing a couple of different people, not just one. I hope I make sense of this for you. Yeah, I'm seeing someone who, someone wanted to get close to you, I think. I think they were kind of persistent about this, but I think they might have only been persistent in their mind, in their thoughts. They wanted to manifest something. So they're really thinking, really, really wanting all of that thing, but they weren't actually acting at this time. I think they might have been taking cues from you, actually, or trying to kind of follow your lead, maybe, because I think you might have been acting as if you didn't want to be close to anyone either. You were a bit like the Hanged Man as well. You kind of wanted to hold back from people, not just in love, I think. In everything, I think you just wanted to kind of, I'm getting this feeling of you just wanting to be by yourself at this time. I think, I think this whole year might have been exhausting for you, actually. I think even the sort of thought of celebrating around this time of year might have made you feel just tired at the thought of it, especially around kind of people kind of laughing and celebrating and talking and all of that kind of thing, noisy places, pubs and parties, and you just didn't want to be around any of that. So you just really didn't feel like celebrating. I'm not seeing you're depressed. I'm not seeing that at all. I'm just seeing that you just really just needed some time away from all of that. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there might have been some people trying to get you to go to all these things, but, you knew what you wanted to do, and I agree with you. Only go to things that you really, really want to go to, apart from things that, you really disappoint loved ones or whatever. But, I mean, if you're really feeling like that, you're not going to have fun. It's not going to be good unless it's an essential thing. It's an old family member who you haven't seen or something important like that. Really, I think you're right to do this if that's how you felt. I'm also seeing someone around you who might have been a little bit loud, actually. Yeah, I'm seeing there was a loud person around you. And that was, of course, if you're feeling like that, that is the absolute last kind of person you want around you. And I think, this person might have been asking you to do things, join in with things, come do this, come do that, do this. And you just really didn't want to. You were like, I really, really just don't feel like doing that. I don't know if this person came up in your last reading, but I remember having something about someone trying to make you do something, trying to push you into something. I don't know if it's the same person, but I can see with this person that you have a kind of a difficult sort of odd relationship with them. It's kind of like you have to be around them for some reason, and you really don't want to be, not all the time, but at this time they were just a bit much for you. I think sometimes you can cope with the loudness, you can kind of put up with it, or you're fine with it sometimes, you don't mind. But at this time you really were in alone mode. You really just didn't want to be around this person. I'm also seeing that, I can see why. Another reason why, not just because they're loud. I'll try, and I hope this is going to make sense. I'm going to try and explain what I'm seeing. I think this loud person might have done some favors for you in the past. And I think these might have been favors that they didn't actually ask you if you wanted. It might be favors that you didn't even want at all. It might be just that they came and said, oh, I'm doing this for you, I've done that, I bought you this, and you didn't want it at all. So it was kind of a favor that wasn't really a favor. They kind of pushed it onto you. And then maybe now they're kind of trying to make you feel obliged to do whatever they want because they've done this kind of imaginary, fantastic thing for you. And I think, it might have been a bit more subtle than that. I don't think they came up to you and said, oh, I've done this for you, you have to do this for me now. But it might have been, they were hinting, or they might have been kind of going about this in a roundabout way, that, oh, think of me, I think of you, all the time. Maybe you should think of me when I'm like this, or, all of that kind of hinting. And I think because it was hinting, because it was kind of subtle, it was kind of a little bit sneaky, instead of coming out and saying, can you do this for me? that kind of made it feel worse for you. I think you were like, if you want to ask me something, just ask me. But if you're doing all this sneaky kind of thing, especially if I don't really owe you anything, this is really making me want to be away from you even more. So yeah, it's a strange dynamic, and I am seeing this kind of dynamic between you and this person. So I don't know if this resonates or not, but that's just what I'm seeing around that. So I hope that made sense to you as well. But yeah, you don't owe this person any favors. Only do what you feel that you can do, and only do things for them if this is what you truly want to do. Don't be forced into things. So, and also I could see, that's obvious. They're not an easy person to deal with. And, you might have to be a little bit like this hanged man for a while. You might have to hold back and think carefully about how you're going to handle this person, because they're not an easy person to handle. So you might have to do that for a while, especially when you're in this mode of kind of just not wanting a lot of extra things to deal with and a lot of noise and a lot of problems. You just really wanted space in your head, really. So yeah, hold back. I wouldn't do anything at this time if I were you, if you're still going through this. But I think eventually you're probably going to have to stand up to this person in some way, I think, because I'm not seeing them stopping their behavior. I think it's just their personality. I think that's just what they're like. I don't think they're going to change. But yeah, back to this first person, this love connection I was seeing. I think this person definitely felt these barriers around you, these walls around you that you had up. And again, it wasn't just them that you had your walls up against. You had your walls up against a lot of people. And I think this was because, there was a real lack of energy around you. I keep on feeling this really tired feeling. It was almost like you're really worn out. And so, yeah, of course, you didn't want this drama and this loud person and celebrating and everything around you at this time. You just really, really needed, not just wanted, you needed to be by yourself. That's what I'm seeing. So, yeah, the next card you have for your past is the Hermit. There you are. You just felt like being by yourself. So maybe you were, again, I'm seeing you being invited to things. But yeah, again, the last place you felt like being was a party or noisy or lots of people talking and laughing. You just did not feel like being in that kind of environment. And I think, you're not always like that, but this is how you were at this time. You just needed to conserve your energy. You didn't have a lot of energy left, and you just needed to conserve what little you had. And, I'm just seeing you wanting to be in your own space, in your own home, slowly going around, pottering around, picking up this, thinking, oh, I'll fix that up later. I'll just sit here for a while. I'm just going to kind of look on my phone for a while. I'm just going to hang around on the sofa for a while, and then I'll do that. That's all you could manage to do. That's absolutely fine. You just needed to recharge your batteries. That's what I'm seeing. Some people recharge their batteries by being around people. That is not you, and it especially wasn't you at this time. And yeah, you're definitely avoiding this loud person, definitely. You just did not need that around you. I mean, this is the kind of person who takes energy away from you, and you just did not need that, or anyone else. That's what I'm seeing. So the last card you have, your past, is the King of Cups. So yeah, the King of Cups hides his feelings, he hides his emotions, he hides the water beneath him, underneath this kind of stone slab. He doesn't like to let it out. He likes to be in control of it. So yeah, I am seeing hiding feelings or holding back feelings. I think maybe you weren't sure about this person who wanted to connect with you. You might have felt a little bit wary of them, actually, wary of what their intentions were. I'm not saying you were suspicious of them. Maybe you were a bit, but not overly. You just had this kind of really not quite right, you weren't quite sure kind of feeling around this person. And I think, maybe you still feel this way about them. I'm picking, I don't know if this is going to make sense. Again, this might be a bit strange. I'm picking up someone who wanted someone to fill in a gap. They wanted people to fill in a gap between people, a gap between relationships, if this makes sense. I can't see, whether this is about them or someone from your more distant past, but someone saw you, and they saw other people as well, as being people who filled in a gap between kind of proper relationships. This person couldn't bear to be by themselves. Actually, I do think this is the same person. I do think this is the same person. They can't bear to be without someone. They can't bear to be alone. That's what I'm seeing. And they have people around them all the time. And if there's ever a gap, if they end a relationship, there's always someone there. They might have overlap between people as well. So, yeah, you did not want to be in this situation. I think you came to this realization at this time. And, you know, you're not a placeholder. You are not a placeholder. That's what you're thinking. You're not a placeholder. You were thinking, I'm not a placeholder. I'm worth a lot more than that. And you are. You are. So if this resonates and you still feel as if you're not sure about this person, I think to me that means that your instincts are trying to tell you something about them. And at least hold off until you're really 100% sure about this person if you don't know. I think you're doing that anyway. I'm seeing that in the Hanged Man. But I think at this time you're coming to this kind of realization that this is what this person's like, and you don't really, I mean, you're heading closer and closer toward getting away from that as well. So the first card you have for your present is the Emperor. So yeah, I'm still seeing you wanting to be by yourself at this time. You know, not completely by yourself. Obviously, you still had work or whatever else you needed to do. But I think you were choosing, or you are, sorry, this is in your present. You're choosing not to, be around many people unless you kind of have to. That's what I'm seeing. And again, you know, this sounds like you're depressed, and that's not what I'm seeing at all. I'm just seeing that you really needed to, or you still need to recharge your batteries, and you need to get your head straight by yourself. That's what I'm seeing. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Because the Emperor can be all about self. The Emperor can be about not wanting to rely on anyone else. He just wants to rely on himself. He can be a little bit untrusting as well sometimes. And I think you're just going to stay in this self-reliant mode for a while, and that's absolutely fine. Yeah, I think you might also be finally making up your mind about this person who you weren't sure about, this love connection. Yeah, I'm seeing that again. Yeah, I don't think there's any specific reason that's coming up at this time that's making you do this, actually. I think you're just kind of making up your mind that you don't want even a hint of anything, even any unsure feelings, any suspicions. You don't want anything with any kind of tiny little thing that you feel uneasy about anywhere near you, whether it's justified or not. You know, that's what the Emperor's like. I think he kind of says, no, I'm not having any of this kind of messing around. I'm not having any playing. I'm not having any unsurety. I only want things with me that I'm 100% sure about. Everything else goes out, goes away from me. And so, that's how you were at this time, or that's how you are, sorry, this is in your present. So, yeah, once the Emperor makes up his mind, that's it. I mean, this is not a heart decision. This is a mind decision. And I think, you're just moving forward. You're just moving away from anyone or anything at all, anywhere, especially this person who you're not 100% sure about. That's what I'm seeing. So that's what you're doing. So the next card you have for your present is the Five of Wands. So I always see this card as, the messy card, the mess card. There's a great big mess, and everyone's kind of hitting themselves, or hitting each other, I should say, over the head, and no one knows what they're doing. It's all a great big mess. So I think, this is what you're trying to avoid. This is what you're trying to avoid in the Emperor. You're trying to avoid any mess, any person, any situation that isn't 100% straightforward. And that's what the Emperor is like. He does not want any mess. You don't want any question marks. You don't want any ambiguity around you. You don't want any more wondering whether you're there because someone truly wants you there or not. You don't want to have to wonder. You don't want to have to question. You don't want to put up with people who are trying to push things onto you, tell you what to do. You just do not want any more mess. You do not want to feel out of control anymore. You want to be in control, and that's what you're going to do now. That's what I'm seeing now. So The last card you have for your present is the Knight of Cups. So, yeah, this is what you're like. You're like the Emperor. You're still like the Emperor. And, you don't usually come across as the Emperor type. You don't seem forceful, but you are. On the inside, you are. You can be stubborn. You can be determined. Even more than the Emperor, actually. Quietly determined, though. So people don't quite know this about you, but you are. Once you've made up your mind, you've made up your mind. That is it. And so, if this is all resonating with you, I think you have made the right decision to separate from this person. And I think, your instincts know that. Your instincts were telling you that for a long time. Yeah, I could see that. So, and you know that. So, and sometimes this card can also be about waiting in love, waiting for the right person to come along, not settling or not just being happy with whoever is there, just anyone. And I think, you take love very, very seriously, and you'd never be disloyal. You'd never play games with anyone. And so you set these rules up for yourself. I'm not going to be like this. I'm not going to hurt anyone. I'm not going to play games. I'm not going to do that. And I think at this time you're having this realization that you're not going to accept any games either. So you're not going to be like that yourself, and you're not going to accept that from anyone else as well. That was a great big thunderclap. So if I hear a big loud one, I think I'm going to scream, but I hope I'm not. I hope you're not going to get a fright either. But yeah, you're not going to put up with that. You're not going to put up with anything that you would not do yourself. And you have high standards, and that's all you're going to accept from now on, basically. So the first card you have for your future is the Chariot. So yeah, you're still going to be very determined. You're going to be determined to steer your life in the direction that you want, not anyone else, you. And yeah, I know this sounds like I'm repeating myself, but obviously this is all coming up over and over again to kind of get this message into your head. If this resonates with you, it's trying to tell you that you're doing the right thing and moving on. This is all the right thing that you should be doing. And I think, you've had a lot of people mess you around in your life. I think you've had, especially in this year, I think you've had people who haven't been straightforward with you. You've had people who haven't been very honest with you. You've had a lot of problems with people messing you around in a lot of different ways, I think. This is where that ends for you. This is where you are putting a stop to this. Because if you look at the Chariot card, he's steering these sphinxes to go where he wants them to go, but he is not holding any reins. He's not holding any reins, so he's not steering them physically. He's steering them with his mind. He's using his mind. This is you, knowing your mind. You know where you want to go with your mind. This is where you're determined to go. The other thing I'm seeing is that you're guarded, like this Chariot. The man in this Chariot is surrounded by a box, so he's guarding himself. But you're not guarded in a defensive way now. You're guarded in a more kind of a determined way. And the other thing I'm seeing in this card is, the Chariot's riding away from the town in the background. You can see there's a town in the background and he's riding away from it. So, and the town obviously is where all the people are. So you're probably going to keep on moving away from any people at all who aren't being 100% straight with you. You're moving away from all these people who are not good for you, which is fantastic. So I also think that you'll eventually find out why you felt that you couldn't trust this person. This is going to come out at some time. Yeah, I'll just tell you what I'm seeing. This is what I'm seeing about that. I'm not seeing a third party, but I'm seeing, I'm seeing a lot of different options that this person has around them. That's probably why I was seeing a lot of, a bit of ambiguity. I think they might have had themselves, or they probably still do at this time, they have themselves in a situation where they have a lot of people around them, a lot of options, a lot of kind of flirting, all of that kind of thing, a lot of kind of blurred lines around them, if that makes sense. And I think, you know, they had themselves in this position where, and they still do, where, you know, if you'd found them, if you find them flirting or talking to someone, they can say, oh, well, I'm just talking to someone, they're just a friend, or whatever excuse. And again, this person hates being alone. They do not like being alone. They're always going to have all these options around them, whether it's someone who they say that's a friend, whether it's someone else lined up. They do not like having time alone. They are always going to have several people they have lined up around them, all these different options. And that's just not good enough for you. That's just not what you want. That's what I'm seeing. So the next card you have for your future is the Nine of Wands. So yeah, again, look at this man. He's filling in the gaps with himself. These gaps in these wands. He is filling in the gaps. That's not what you're going to do anymore. So yeah, this is what he's doing. So this person, again, they don't like to be alone. But you know, they're never entirely happy, even though they're never alone, because they never actually get to work out what they want. They never get to work out what kind of person they want, what they truly want for themselves, who they want to be with, what they want. And I think whoever this is that you moved away from, they lean on all of these different options, like this man's leaning on all these wands. They lean on these people. And, you know, I think they just feel as if they could never really just stand up on their own, like this man. You know, I'm not making excuses for them, but I think they might have a fear of being abandoned, maybe deep down. I think they might be like this, not because they want to play around, but because, you know, they're really trying to avoid this alone feeling, this feeling of being alone. They're trying to avoid this kind of abandoned feeling. I don't know whether they were abandoned once. And again, I don't want to make excuses for them, but that's what I'm seeing. Deep down might be the reason why. So yeah, the last card you have for your future is the Two of Pentacles. So yeah, again, you're moving forward, but I think you know that you're not going to have a perfectly smooth road in front of you, and you know that that's kind of normal. I think, you know, when you've separated for someone, even if you're the one who's done the separation, even if that's what you want, it's still not easy for you. It's never easy for anyone. It's always horrible. You know, it just takes a long time to get over things, I'm seeing. You're going to go through a lot of emotional ups and downs. You already have been. You're going to go through more again. I'm just telling you, you know, what I'm seeing. This is the truth. And yeah, things are going to settle down again eventually. But the good thing is here is you're not going to go back on this really determined state of mind. I think this is going to continue on for you no matter how you're feeling. And I think it's going to continue on into the new year for you and beyond that, because I'm seeing this infinity symbol. So you're going to keep on feeling like this for a long, long time. You're going to keep on kind of getting rid of any bad people, bad things, bad situations that aren't good for you. So this is a good thing. But the other thing I'm seeing is that, yeah, when you're going through these down times, in these ups and downs, just be careful with your spending. That's what I'm seeing. I am seeing there might be a temptation to overspend, especially when you're feeling down, because especially at this time of year, you know, when companies are kind of shoving things in your face, saying buy this, buy that. They're trying to tempt us all on purpose. So this might be a kind of a bad combination if you're feeling really down. And you might say to yourself, oh, I'll just treat myself. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with buying things if that's what you want to do. But what I'm seeing here is a problem with maybe overspending, because this man has these two coins and he's not in control of them. So just be a little bit careful that you're not tempted to overspend. That's what I'm seeing. Just be mindful of that.